Good now, revolutionaries, and welcome to the Rise Up Morning Show. Today is Monday, August 25th. This is your place for helpful Web3 news, commentary, answers to your crypto questions. So if you've got a question, a suggestion, a good joke, a word of wisdom, a prediction, or something else, then send it to us wherever you are, whenever you listen. We want to hear from you. And if you're listening in the future, hello. We hope your candles are green. You can leave your comments in the Rise Up community. Get the link at rumshq.com. It's the very first link there to the free global community. The only thing missing, my friends, is you. More on that later. But we got a lot to talk about today, and I would love to know first how you guys are doing. Did you have a good weekend?
I had a very interesting weekend. From some ping pong balls, just some life stuff happened. So a little bit of family drama, if you will. And then also like some really great times hanging out with friends and buddies, and had like an old school like teenage little kid like sleepover, like, you know, like back in the day where you had like sleeping bags downstairs in the basement. You just played video games, except in this involved alcohol and some other substances. And we're playing Overcooked 2. It was me, my girlfriend, and a few friends, and just got like hammered, screaming at each other playing Overcooked, and it was great.
That's the game I recall listening to you on stream with Greg talking about, and I've never played it, but it sounds chaotic, stressful, maybe fun.
It's all those things. It's great. So okay. It was a good weekend. It was a good weekend.
Good.
I felt alive.
Not something you can say all the time, so I'm glad to hear that, man. How about you, Alex?
Well, what did I do? I feel like I worked.
You stopped the flood.
I forgot about that. We had a pretty crazy flash flood on Tybee on Saturday, and so I was the line of defense for this one house that always floods. So I'm like, it was wild. I was sitting in the parking lot just watching it because I was like, it's gonna start to rain. Your house is already sketchy, but we've got this crazy huge dewatering pump in the ground in the parking area now, and there's a lot of new like drainage stuff, whatever. It should be fine. And then we went from no discernible puddles in that parking lot to 8 inches of water standing around the house in 30 minutes, less than 30 minutes.
Damn.
And managed to get sandbags around the patio because there's 2 entrances into this like patio. And my dumbass put the sandbags in front of there thinking that it would hold. It did not.
Oh.
So it's like seeping through, and then it's getting on the patio and it's getting to the front door. I was like, why didn't I just put all these in the front door? So then it was this one terrifying moment where I was like, I have to pull one of these sandbag blockades down, which already has like 6 inches of water outside of it, and get them into the main door. Managed to do it. Ended up with only about a 1/4 inch of water in 2 of the rooms inside the house, which was pretty good considering that it was like up to, I don't know, it was that much standing in the parking lot, maybe more. It was nuts. Anyway, we ended up, we figured based on dewatering rates, we probably pushed about 30,000 gallons of water out of that parking lot in the next 2 hours.
Whoa.
This is a gross misrepresentation.
30,000?
Yeah.
Tori said, yikes. And
what other crypto influencers are out here saving their community? Instead, they're just rugging them.
Yeah, and then I sold a bunch of Solana. So it was a good weekend.
Yeah, it's been a good weekend for altcoiners. It's been a good weekend for Bitcoiners, if only temporarily. Crypto Machinery in the comments says, are we cooked? And that's the first question to get into today. For folks who missed it, and that includes all of us because we were not on the air, I do have to say that we got ourselves an all-time high for ETH. The Ethereum coin reached an all-time high of almost $5,000, $4,955, depending on where you accessed it. And Bitcoin seemed to shift a little over into ETH. Other altcoins experienced a little buoy. over the weekend, Bitcoin went up and down. Now it's down about 4.5% from where it was Friday after Jerome Powell's remarks to approximately 1,000. So hard to say these numbers in sequence. $111,200. Once again, I say, depending on where you look at it, I'm looking at CoinGecko right now, and oh my God, in the time it took me to write that and get on the show and report it, we've lost another $80. We're down to $111,120. ETH, on the other hand, is currently down to $4,592. So the question, gentlemen, becomes, the
question becomes, would it kill Solana just to give me 180 back?
Just to give you
yeah, I mean, you might get it.
It's important that we say I'm just making these numbers up based on like what I want.
I mean, I would love to buy some at 185. I'll cut your knees out from underneath you just a little bit.
Solana is currently sitting at $197.38 per token. And shout out to your boy. I was able to sell it at about $211. Ooh. I saw Alex say I am selling around what, 201? Maybe on Thursday were you selling, Alex? And I was like, no, we're going higher. And it was totally an 8-ball prediction, but it worked out. And I'm feeling pretty good about that right now.
To be clear, I did sell at 202. I had plenty left, and I sold again at 210.
Yeah, I like that. Never sell the whole bag.
No.
DCA,
always keep something to sell.
Yeah.
Always have something to buy with.
Ooh, man. I almost gave you a toilet flush because it's in the same place as the ding button on a different panel, and that would have been the wrong sound. So, Will, over the weekend, you asked a really good question in our community, in the general chat, that got a lot of responses. Based on market activity, people are active, people are curious. What's everybody buying and selling? And I'd like to know, because Crypto Machinery asked, are we cooked? I don't think we're cooked, but shifting from Bitcoin to ETH, to Sol, to other altcoins, I saw that dominance was around 58%, going in the right direction for an altcoin season. What are you guys buying? What are you selling? And what are you feeling about the next couple of weeks ahead?
Well, the next couple of weeks ahead is interesting because this week is interesting to me. After that, I feel like it's kind of clear in my mind because I look at September 17th. We're looking at rate cuts, hopefully, most likely. So we should have some kind of a lead up, a buy the rumor, sell the news event of that. So this to me is kind of like a final dip to then begin that buy the rumor, sell the news, because September 17th is still 2.5 weeks away.
About that.
Yeah, just about 3 weeks away, something like that. And then you hopefully have a end of the year rally that Bitcoin and crypto typically has, particularly when we're seeing some of the signs that we're seeing now, which is Bitcoin's close to all-time highs. Bitcoin dominance is looking really weak, which means altcoins are looking strong. You have a bunch of altcoins that are in these formations and patterns that tend to break out to the upside. I was talking about them in a live last night, but they haven't broken out of them yet. So we're seeing all these potential things. But this week is interesting because Wednesday is the most important day because that is when NVIDIA has their earnings report. Okay. Now, if you hold crypto, you care about this, despite it being a stock, despite it being, a AI-related chip manufacturing organization, because NVIDIA has over 8% of the entire stock market cap in it. So if NVIDIA has a bad earnings report on Wednesday, the entire stock market will go whoo. And as a result, people will then need to cover their positions. They'll go to their crypto positions, sell those to cover their positions in the stock market. So you'll also see crypto go whoosh, most likely as well. However, if NVIDIA has a good earnings report, which they have had good earnings reports continuously for 2 years now. So we'll see what happens. Most analysts are expecting them to beat their expectations. It's 11 out of 12 currently right now. Then you'll see stocks immediately fly. You'll see crypto immediately fly. And the expectation is that NVIDIA's stock itself, which remember is 8% of the entire stock market, based on their earnings report, will either go up 7% or down 7%. That's a lot. It's tens of, I'm picking a number out of my head, I'd have to verify it, but it's billions of dollars, billions and billions of dollars to be, swinging NVIDIA 7% in either direction. So that's on Wednesday. That'll happen Wednesday at like 5 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. And then you have your initial jobless claims data on Thursday and your core PCE inflation data on Friday. That will also help to shape our odds of getting rate cuts in September. So that's why this week's really, really important. And it looks like we're going to sell a little bit maybe into that NVIDIA earnings report and have an opportunity to have that be a blast off point or an inflection point down. I don't know what's going to happen. Most analysts, financial analysts, are expecting the earnings report to be good, so we'll see what happens.
I'm hearing a lot of people say more and more that we are in an AI tech bubble. The 10 biggest companies in the US, mostly tech flavored with a little finance thrown in at the bottom, account for some 40% of the S&P 500. It's like a third of the revenue growth across the index in the last year. And of course, that's kind of been the case for a while, but it's seemingly that sentiment is that the growth on Wall Street in those particular companies is not a reflection of what's happening in business broadly or on Main Street where milk and eggs and bread are expensive. And I am seeing that word more, bubble, bubble, bubble. And a lot of people seem worried about it. They think we're overexcited. You guys have thoughts on that?
Calling it an AI bubble is warranted and unwarranted at the same time. Why is it warranted? You have the stock market in a really, really, really dangerous and risky position where 40% of the entire market cap of the entire stock market, S&P 500, is just in the top 10 stocks, almost all of which are tech-related stocks. In fact, I think they are. They're all tech-related, and I think like BlackRock's number 10 or 6 or something like that.
Yep.
Right? So it's just like, hey, we're really betting hard on U.S. tech industry. And so if like one thing happens there, or you suddenly have China make a real big appearance in the scene, kind of like what happened when they made their ChatGPT version that was good, and like they're like, hey, it's way cheaper too. You saw the stock market immediately go whoa, because tech's got hurt. So it's a very fragile, it's a very high risk stock market and in like system that Wall Street is in right now, which means that crypto is as well, because we're so reliant on the US tech sector doing super, super, super well, more than we ever have been. So in that sense, the market structure is becoming more like a bubble as the very tip of the S&P 500, those 10 stocks, are becoming such a large weight. And we're so dependent on them doing well. So that's a very vulnerable position to be in. The other thing of it not being warranted is that AI is still getting invested in to the tunes of trillions of dollars. And like we all know it's the future. We just don't know what that future is going to look like. We didn't really know that with the internet. Like the last bubble the stock market had was the .com bubble. Everyone's like, oh, there's this new technology. We're just going to take everything and do everything with it. And I guess to a sense, we're kind of doing that with AI. But I feel like we understand a little bit more now that like, yeah, this AI is the future. Whereas at the time of the .com bubble, there were a lot of people still who were just like, oh, this whole internet thing's kind of noise and we shouldn't be paying attention to it. Whereas everyone universally is like, AI is obviously the next like step of our financial, government, socio evolution as like a species. So yeah. I would say you're totally warranted in saying it's a bubble. I would say I don't think it's a bubble because we all are just like, this is the future, but you could still have huge corrections because of how centralized the stock market and financial markets are in that one sector.
We also had a comment talk about shrinkflation. What did all these interesting inflation terms William Quigley was saying last time? He was mentioning the transitory inflation and shrinkflation. I saw a Coinbase commercial where they were talking about this, where they're downsizing the amount of product you get for a greater price, filling a bag of potato chips with less chips and more air. So there's all these really interesting sort of indicators that things are not well, but I feel like the sentiment largely remains bullish. We're talking about buying and selling. There's always something to buy, always something to sell. And I want to come back to this. I know, Will, last week you sold some Morpho, right? You talked about that a little.
I sold some Morpho. I sold some Radium. I sold some Pengu. I sold some Solana.
Yeah, you sold a little, and maybe it was the other week, virtuals, right, into that pump.
Yeah.
What are you guys looking to enter into? I heard the Sol looking for 185, you said, but are you looking at other positions to get into or get out of?
Yeah, I was buying. I bought a little bit yesterday, and I'll buy again today and tomorrow and the day after that of Morpho, Syrup, which is Maple Finance, Pengu, and then Solana. I haven't bought any Solana because it was just like it was too Hansel the other day. It was so hot right now.
I was like, excuse me?
It's too Hansel. It was too Hansel. It was so hot right then. I was like, I can't buy this right now. And it was right at resistance. So I was like, we'll see how this looks in the morning. Yeah, so I'm gonna average into those positions because from a technical standpoint, they all look to be in pretty interesting spots. And yeah, that's what I'm doing.
Alex, what about you?
It's kind of boring. Like I said, mostly just Sol because it's the only thing I really have the energy to pay attention to. And I'm so like entrenched in the Solana swing trade right now that just a couple bucks up and down really doesn't bother me. I mean, I couldn't even tell you what the average is purchase price anymore because there's been quite a few. I will say, and I was kind of patting myself on the back for this one last week. This is interesting to me because it's not indicative of me having any idea like what's going to happen. There's no future telling. I never consulted the chart one single time. It was literally just looking at the percentage up or down on the week, then the day, and then just kind of deciding like, okay, do I want to move with 20%, 30%, 50%, whatever. And just because I had that system in place and because I had this muscle memory down of like buying and selling whenever it was like up and down, however many percent. This was funny. And I'm going to roast Nikki a little bit from Marinade because I bought like a significant amount at $178. And then like 3 hours later, it was 195.
Yeah, nice.
And I sold the entire position that I bought at 178 at 195. And I opened Twitter and Nikki's like posted a screenshot of the fact that he sold Solana at 178.
Oh,
ahead of the Jackson Hole talk. This was right around that, right? Like it was the Jackson Hole talk is what pumped it up, however many percent that was. And he just wrote, I am such an idiot. I sold 20 minutes ago at $178.
Hey, it happens.
It was like already climbing, and I just commented, I bought it. And so I was really stoked. I played that one perfectly, and it had nothing to do with like knowing what was going to happen, everything to do with just like having a system with rules that I stick to regardless. And 178, it was like sitting there. I was like, could go lower, could not. But this feels like a good price, and it was, 200 not that long ago. It's likely that if we get something good, it'll go back there. So I was like, yep, I feel good about that. Full send.
It's the perfect time to buy.
Amen.
Amen. Amen, past Will.
But other than that, the only other position that I like have that is being real swingy right now is Arrow. It really doesn't. It takes like the butterfly's fart to move that thing 15%. And I was like, okay. I'm going to pay a little bit closer attention to this one just because I've had a pile of it for a long ass time. Like average purchase price, 50, 60 cents, I think. Not something I was trading at all because I didn't have time to manage two positions in anything. And then I was just like, dude, it's up. Like, what was it? Last week was like up 60% in the week or something. So I was like, yeah, let's. So I sold like 60% of it. And then it fell like a 20%, had like a 20% decline over 2 days or something like that, from like $1.50 down to like $1.10, 15. I'd have to look. I might be mixing up a couple numbers here. It was a relatively large, and so I just went like almost all the way back in with that whole position, and now it's back up, $1.50 last I looked. So swung it out again.
And Nikki, man, if you're listening,
You're a loser.
I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding on myself. We actually have a really good question from the audience about Solana, but I want to kind of filter down to it. Just by way of transition, watch me try and weave this together. in our chat where Will asked, what are you looking to buy when there's an opportunity? I was impressed and surprised at a lot of people who were kind of doing their own strategy. Not surprised that they're so savvy, but just surprised at the diversity. I thought it was really cool. There were a lot of regular names. One of them that stuck out to me was Link. A lot of people are very bullish on Link. XRP was mentioned in the comments. Price of eggs, great username, said buy eggs and ... XRP question mark. Whether you're watching Link or Sol or XRP, if the market is moving and you are trading a token you're familiar with, you can execute that strategy that Alex has articulated. You don't need to be tied to the charts every single day if you know that, yeah, the market is moving and Sol will probably go up 10%. XRP will probably go up 10%. And that looks like this price. It's been this price, it's going to that price, it's going to this. You know what I mean? It is like watching a soap opera with characters you come to understand over time. And every now and then they surprise you. But you can kind of play hands off if you are paying attention to a show like this one or a CoinGecko alert or something, and you see, oh, the market's up 20% today. Then you check and you say, oh yeah, I could sell a little. It's down 20% today. Oh, I could buy a little. Whether you're talking about XRP or Link or Sol or you name it. A lot of these tokens in the top, probably 20 for sure, but 100 at large will give you that kind of momentum, and they're probably not going anywhere.
I have to say,
go ahead.
Just because I was feeling very, very proud of the situation the other day. And it was just for the record, because of the fact that this is a system, I'm going to keep, this is a collective pat on all of our backs right now.
Pat our backs, baby.
The only conversation in Circle was about like, all right, profit taking in this, this, whatever. That was the whole thing. That there was not a single like, do I ape right now? And that was awesome. And it turns out that every single one of those people who took profits in whatever on the day that we were all talking about it, nailed it. Nailed it perfectly. You could re-enter every single one of those right now and have more than you started with if it's something you're still convicted in. Nailed it. It was beautiful. Yeah. It was awesome.
So getting to this question from one of our friends in the comments, ZZ Foyd. I can't quite read it. Sorry if I mispronounced your name.
Foyd?
They said, I've heard Sol is a scam, and I've seen people back it up with, quote, proof, unquote. What's your take on that? And they specifically mention that there are accounts that hold a lot of tokens. And I wanted to just drill into that a little. If you heard that kind of report, you weren't familiar with the history of Solana, you were curious or concerned and wanted to do some deeper investigating, where would you go to see what's the breakdown like? Who holds this token? Who's held it over time? Where has it moved? How is it distributed? How is it launched, etc.? I would say the place I would go to start is probably CoinGecko. I'd look first at the markets to see where it trades. One of the things I think is important is your token deeply liquid? I hear a lot of like hype, trending, temporarily cool tokens or like regionally hip tokens have liquidity in some markets and not others. And what I specifically mean by that is if you go to the old Gecko, coingecko.com, you go to the markets tab, you will see all the different places that you can trade for this asset. And you're going to see how much volume they've had in the last however many hours you filter it to. You're going to see what the depth of their book has been like, the price, and the spread, meaning like how consistent is the price for this asset? If it's about the same price on a lot of different exchanges, that means that pretty much everyone in the world has equitable access to trade this. That's an indicator that this is like a mature token. Same kind of thing for volume. If a lot of people are trading it in size, and I would consider size to be tens of millions of dollars, hundreds of millions of dollars for a token like Solana, and you can see, look at all these places that people can get it, and look at all this volume. And you can toggle between centralized exchanges, decentralized exchanges, spot balances, perpetual balances, future balances. I know just by looking at this already that this tells me, one, it's a legitimate token. And I said a second ago, it's sufficiently mature to the extent that if one of these companies had a problem, if a big whale somewhere went under, it's probably unlikely that one person is holding so much of this token that they could totally tank this market. Now, the exception I would make to that rule comes from history. FTX at one time was a huge holder of Solana tokens. And when FTX went under, because of the enmeshment of their finances with the whole blockchain, it really hurts Solana's price. That is the number one domino that got toppled to send Sol down from whatever it was to $8 a couple of years ago. I'd be curious though, guys, what would you add to that? Just to like speak some truth to Solana specifically, but don't just take our word for it. Where would we go to look up top holders or to get in touch with good information about whether or not the blockchain, its holdership is decentralized?
So, first of all, if you want to see just like a measure, I guess, of wallet distribution, the first layer would be just to look at a blockchain explorer. Excuse me. From there, though, you kind of have to go a little bit deeper because lots of wallets can be connected, and just because they're spread out to lots of different ones doesn't really mean anything. So you can usually bubble map these things. Most explorers now have a feature like that you can look at that kind of shows you like which wallets are connected to which other wallets. But before you get into like the technicals, I think it's important to just clarify a couple things. Post FTX, Solana is a lot less venture capital infiltrated than it was before.
Yes.
We purged a shitload of it out during that whole thing. Second, everything has venture capital dollars in it.
Correct.
Everything. Third, I don't really care when you really get down to brass tacks here, because if we start to compare these things to like more traditional companies, I think Apple is probably a pretty relevant comparison. So let's take the iPhone as a flagship product of that company, and ask yourself if you really truly believe that it is the single most technically capable and advanced cell phone that's produced, because its market share would say yes, if that is truly how we're judging things. And I think it's really slanted and honestly unfair to consistently try to determine which cryptocurrency is the most technically advanced and then be blown away when it does not have the highest market cap. Nobody buys pure product. People buy brand. Brand doesn't really exist in crypto that much. And if anything is close as a full ecosystem to having a pretty solid brand reputation, Solana is at the top of that list. I would say that Base is pretty close to the top of that list too. And you can check and confirm whether or not I am full of it by going to something like DeFi Llama and looking at revenue, chain revenue, app revenue, fee generation, whatever. How much money are these companies actually making? Because in the same way that Apple does not make the iPhone as the best phone on the planet, they have, I mean, what it's got to be the most sold cell phone, right? Like
yeah, I'm sure.
It's gotta be.
I don't know. The Android operating system is on more phones.
Yeah, I'm talking about device.
I think that the devices, we could fact check it.
So if you look at Solana's like app revenue, which is the total amount of money made in 24 hours by all of the things that are built on that blockchain, it's the highest. And it is always the highest. It's the highest every day. I do not remember a day in which anything did more revenue than the Solana ecosystem in a day. It is. Sorry, Phil. I'm not making this up. I'm not sharing an opinion. That's how it works. If you want to talk about the metric that could be faked by revolving a shitload of bot trading, you're talking about volume. I'm talking about revenue.
You could also fake TVL to some extent.
I'm not talking about TVL.
We're talking about revenue.
I understand. I just was adding to the things you could fake list.
Okay. So in that sense, actually, you want to take I'm going to make you guess one thing. You want to take a guess who's in second place behind Sol with revenue? And it's pretty close.
And chains for Tron.
Will?
It has to be. I mean, it has to be Ethereum.
No.
Binance.
Neither one is right. Binance, no. You're moving the wrong direction. So first of all, Tron is not even close. Really? Tron is like
The the other chain making the most amount of revenue?
Ethereum is doing well, especially recently.
Tron, it's not Binance, it's not Ether. I have absolutely no idea who.
But
it is.
Ethereum's about half of the app revenue in 24 hours. So Solana, for context, did just over $6 million in the last 24 hours. Ethereum's about 3. Hyperliquid.
Oh, I knew that. Damn it.
I keep forgetting they're their own chain.
Hyperliquid over 5, dude.
Can I give you a real quick Hyperliquid update with just facts, bullet points? 24-hour spot volume right there, 3.4 billion right now. It's an all-time high. They are the second largest venue for Bitcoin spot trading across centralized and decentralized platforms. $1.5 billion in Bitcoin alone. So they are killing it.
Yeah, I should buy some hype.
Dude, it's undervalued. I have not added it to my portfolio, and I'm always like, oh, I missed it. I don't know it well enough to buy it yet.
So for context, because I mean, you want to talk about a comparison. Let's look at that really, really fast. So Solana, like I said, $6 million in 24 hours.
And this is on the Llama that you're looking at this, right?
Well, now I'm on market cap.
Okay. Because Nanny Crypto asked, where can we look at this? DeFiLlama.com is
DeFi
one place. CoinMarketCap is another. I'll do a screen share of DeFi Llama just because I've got it, but please continue.
As far as I know, CoinMarketCap's not going to show you app revenue. So, okay, for Solana, you've got a market cap of 106 billion. You've got, like we said, $6 million daily revenue, and I would say that's pretty consistent. I look almost every day. That's pretty much what you can expect. It's usually around that. Honestly, often it's a little higher. Then if you were to compare that to Hyperliquid, which did, like we said, 5 million in the last 24 hours, it's sitting at 15 billion. So what's that?
Wow.
Six times smaller. I mean,
don't ask me to do math while I'm simultaneously screen sharing, but yes. How about
Correct. How about correct?
yeah, it's one of those things. And so, like, the reason I bring up this whole revenue thing is because when you're talking about company valuations and, you know, stock price and all this kind of stuff, I never really hear anyone talking specifically about how this stock is underpriced or undervalued or overpriced because of the actual, like, technical quality and capability of the device or the service or the whatever it is. Quality also does not necessarily denote volume at scale or brand identity, or, you know, whatever. Look at Liquid Death, Red Bull. Like, these are the classic, like, brand examples that I give all the time, where no one's buying the product, everyone's buying the brand. If you were to look at McDonald's as a food, I mean, what's McDonald's market cap compared to that really amazing little Italian restaurant that's owned by this doesn't mean anything. It's volume at scale, based on distribution, based on brand awareness, based on, you know, blah 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 blah, on and on and on and on. Like the actual specific quality of the thing really almost never comes into play. And I think that is one of the reasons that crypto, like, misses so much, because nobody can, like, express an opinion about something that's doing well because of making a shitload of money, or because they crushed an awareness campaign that just really resonated with a bunch of people and got someone to try this thing out, or, you know, go over here, whatever. People wanted to. Why? I'm gonna bitch for a second. Why is gambling so popular? Because people love to gamble. People love speculation. It's crypto. It's basically all speculation, right? That's pretty much the thing that drives the entire industry.
I mean, sure. I'll give it.
Meme coins.
70%.
That's most of it. For the record, 70 consists as the majority.
Well, I was talking to Evan, where Evan was like, I don't know, you know, it was the.
It's a lot.
Yeah, I was like, yeah, 30% of it is like some good. There's good reasons.
Sure, yeah, and listen, I love the good reasons, but my point is that memes are popular, gambling is popular. People love to gamble. I always say, you know, the fact that Vegas exists doesn't mean that your 401k isn't worth anything. So if you then take a look at, okay, you've got all these different ecosystems, you got these different places where people can show up and do stuff. What does everyone like to do? Well, right now, everyone likes to gamble, and they're all choosing to do their gambling on Solana. That says something. It doesn't say that Solana is the home of gambling. It says Solana is the home of the people. The people want to gamble. They're choosing to do it over there. we can all talk shit about it, but what did every other ecosystem do when Solana started to really pick up post Pump.Fun launch? They all started to try to convince people that you can also do memes here. Base went hard on the memes for a while, to the point where all of the founding team were wearing crappy NFT PFPs and shilling meme tickers. For the record, some of them still are. Avalanche was like all gaming, and all of a sudden it was like, hey, did you guys know that you can make memes on Joe or whatever the fuck? Sure. Like they all did it. Binance, the original king of the meme chain ecosystem, was BNB for sure. Ethereum has had memes since the dawn of ETH. Like it's just a thing. So where are the people doing the thing that they want to do? Doesn't have anything to do with the ecosystem. It's just like, hey, does this shit work? Can I do it here? Are there other people here? Great. That's why Solana is so popular, because the users are all over there. Because the thing works. We don't care about 100% uptime. Like it's just the sad truth. It's the sad truth. So
the other thing
I'm
too
sorry
is they
if it
also
pisses you off, but that's just what it is.
They also combined it with, hey, we have wallets that are easy to use. And then people went, oh, cool, these wallets are easy to use. Phantom, easy to use. Soulflare, easy to use. And
it's an interesting tactic too, because in a world wherein we are constantly just having PhD level discussions about how you can make something more technically advanced and technically on paper better, Solana is the brand that is constantly asking, like, how can I make this more fun and how can I make this easier without really talking too much about the tech, the specs, and whatever, because recognize that most people don't care. And for the record, I'm not sharing like what I personally value. This is just an observation of kind of how it works in general. So it's just sort of the way that it is.
Mm-hmm. Once you get to the point where users can click the button and the thing happens and the price of it is absolutely negligible, doesn't matter how much lower the price is, doesn't matter how much faster the clicking the button to the thing happening is, it doesn't matter. You just got to make it easy. That's all people care about.
So I would end by saying, if this really bothers you, I would hazard a guess that it probably bothers you because your favorite ecosystem or your favorite blockchain, and it's your favorite for whatever reason, largely for people who are upset about this, it's probably your favorite because of some particular spec that is really good that you personally value. And that's fine. That's all well and good. But I would hazard a guess that you're pissed off because that ecosystem doesn't really have any people doing really much of anything. That's a brand problem. It's not a tech problem. And if you think that the way that you're going to convince people to give it a shot and see how much better something can be over here on this ecosystem, or better this app works than that, or whatever, if you think the best way to do that is to pontificate about tech quality while trying to put someone else down for liking something else, you're going to fail. You're going to continue to fail. That is how your brand never sees the light of day, because the only public impression that anybody new has of it is that there's a bunch of stuffy, arrogant, like tech bros who want to bitch and complain about how no one pays attention to their toy because it's technically better, when arguably it's much worse because no one's using it. So just rethink the way that you approach people about why XYZ is better. So if someone says like, hey, wallet X on this chain over here is so easy to use, I love it, even if it's worse, and your answer is it's a piece of trash, it's fake, it's nonsense, it doesn't work. Yes, it does. Direct observation and lots of user testimony disagrees with you. The one that you like might be technically better because of this stat or this metric or this piece of tech or this tool or this feature. So explain why you think that's cool, and then do something with it, and don't be a dick to everyone about it. Like, I'm sorry, this has to stop, or you're going to continue to just live in a little cave playing marbles with yourself, and no one's going to come to your chain. Like, if you want to talk about the thing that is keeping most of these ecosystems from growing, it's the fact that it's all of their commercial branding is being done by a few stuffy assholes that are like really bitter that their thing is still not as valuable as Solana. Meanwhile, Solana's just doing stupid shit with memes, playing and having fun. Look at Abstract. Abstract, their whole platform is a brand.
Yeah.
It's Pudgy Penguins, it's streaming, It's things that people can relate to. We don't talk about the tech. I don't know the first thing about why abstract is technically better. I actually don't even know like what their consensus mechanism is off the top of my head, and I couldn't care less.
No, the only thing I can tell you about abstract is there's fun, silly things there and people connecting with people. And that's really what they should be leading with. Because
it works.
I haven't even had this thought before, Alex, before you brought this up, but I have always thought about abstract being this different thing from everything simply off of I know nothing about what abstract is. I just see like people are like, hey, it's light and fun and we're having a good time. And I'm just like, oh, that's nice. I like having a good, that's literally every other blockchain. I can tell you something that's different from like a technical level. And with abstract, it already scratched that itch where I'm just like, yeah, I mean, it makes sense, right? The Pudgy Penguins people are the greatest people in crypto at creating a brand. Them and Courtyard.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's Pudgy Penguins and Courtyard are the only two crypto companies that have created an actual brand that have a larger brand presence in Web 2 than Web 3. Mm-hmm. Yeah, they're the only two. Which is funny because it's Pokemon cards and an NFT meme coin.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's
Mama B thing
just makes sense.
Mama B thing in the comments said, I am prescribing a yoga class for Alex today.
I promise I'll do some deep breathing when this is over.
I want to really quickly come back to the question that started this off about Solana and verifying things with 2 points. The first one is we didn't talk about nodes and distribution. One of the concerns about centralization, you mentioned VC funding. We talked about who holds it. We talked about where can you trade it. But we didn't talk about all of these at the end of the day are networks. Many cryptos, the major ones, are coins for a network that all the members of a network agree to use to settle debts on that network. What is Solana? It's a layer 1 network. It is a piece of infrastructure that facilitates the building of other apps and things on top of it, like Ethereum is. It's a smart contract platform with a slightly different aim, a slightly different infrastructure. But over time, while Solana started as being very centralized in terms of the computers that ran the code to do the processing of transactions, it has become much more decentralized. This year alone, Validator, the computers who do that work, growth accelerated such that over 3,200 validators across 45 countries were added. 1,900 of them are independently run by community contributors or DAOs. No single validator controls more than 3.2% of the total stake, which is kind of a weird number, but I pull it out because that number is known as the Nakamoto coefficient. If any validator has more than 3.2% of the total stake, and there are about 31 validators who want to collude together, that's typically enough to form a supermajority that's capable of censoring or altering the record of the network. The Nakamoto coefficient is named after, of course, Satoshi Nakamoto, the pseudonymous founder of Bitcoin. So this coefficient for Solana, based on the number of validators, it's pretty stable. And they are becoming increasingly decentralized. You know, they've got FireDancer now. They've got other different ways that validators can run consensus on the network. And we expect that to continue over time. That's just kind of the trend of things. You know, you put a ripple in a pond and the circle is small first, and then it gets bigger as you move outwards. But I also want to address this comment about DeFi. Phil in the comments has been really active. I appreciate the participation as you go back and forth with Alex. It's hard to do when you're limited to characters in a TikTok comment. So good job. This notion that DeFi is just nonsense, that it's just money being traded back and forth between people and there's no real value to it. If that's something you believe, then I want to inform your perspective with just a couple of numbers. That DeFi is not only a tangible type of value transfer, value creation, but it is a novel, meaning never before possible type of value transfer and creation. Here are some examples of that. When you put assets on chain, you can create an environment where you can settle things in almost real time, directly between two parties for very low cost. Stablecoins are the best example of this. Currently, right now, stablecoins handle between $20 and $30 billion in on-chain payments and settlements every single day. Remittances, money transfers. Over the last year, that accounts for more than $27 trillion in transaction volume. The actual amount of like volume of money transferred in the world is in the quadrillions. It's a number so big it sounds like we made it up, but this is a significant increase, and it's increased over time because it is a better alternative to the way we do things now. We had a whole show where we talked about the inefficiencies of Western Union, one of the biggest money movers in the world. And we've talked ad nauseum. It's a crypto pastime to talk about all the central intermediaries, governments, and others who make your money work, but compared to DeFi, they don't make it work very well. The other thing that DeFi does is it gives liquidity and velocity to other kinds of assets when they become tokenized. Imagine, if you will, you had the deed to a house. It's on paper. Or maybe a family farm that's been there for generations. You got this crumbly old pre-Civil War document in some bank somewhere where you got to go verify your identity. A corrupt banker could take it from you or make it difficult for you to get it. When you want to sell your farm or whatever, you've got to be very careful and diligent about how you collect the money. You might have to put it in escrow. You might have to pay an agent and then transfer the deed when all the T's have been crossed and the I's have been dotted. DeFi allows people to create a digital tokenized version of that deed that will never deteriorate, that can never be forged or faked, that can never be stolen from your possession, and that can be instantly, errorlessly, cheaply transferred when conditions are met automatically, the way a calculator does math. So the efficiencies that you gain here are difficult to measure with like quantifiable numbers, but we're working on that. And the math is that it's better. What's more is you have velocity. It'd be really hard for me if I was Alex selling my house to line up a buyer, have an inspection, do all this stuff. But what if my deed was tokenized and I could say, you know what, guys, we're doing a timeshare. I'm just going to create a token that people who meet my requirements can buy. You all own this much of the house. You get these kind of rights to it, and it is enforced by an impartial computer that cannot lie to you. That is a way more efficient way to give that asset liquidity, right? People can buy and sell ownership on a free market quickly, easily, anywhere with an internet connection, and they will use assets on chain to do it because they are easier to verify, because they don't rely on PayPal or Western Union to take a cut. And that is going to revolutionize, it already has, the way we make meaning about value in a world where our primary mechanism to do it is the clunky tool of dollars and cents. So don't throw the baby out with the DeFi bathwater yet. What do you think, Will?
Well, one thing too is just based on the comment, like, hey, it's just people like swapping money back and forth. And I'm like, well, yeah, that's also the entire stock market too. But the thing is I get it. If you're like, it's just people swapping money back and forth, like, I don't understand why it's valuable. Okay, like, I understand that, you know, I get it. There's no like physical product. There's no like real other new benefit to society and stuff like that. But there are other parts of the crypto space. If you just look at that and you go, I don't see the value here, I don't get it, that's fine. You don't have to. Right? There are other parts of the crypto space you might find valuable. It might be decentralized infrastructure. It might be Web3 gaming. It might be, you know, other things that are non-decentralized exchange or stock market related, where it's just the buying and selling of things, right? But in the DeFi space, you have your lending protocols, you have, you know, so many other things, and all the great things that you mentioned as well, Evan. But, you know, there's so many other parts in this crypto space for you to explore if you just don't really like the idea of investing or speculating on the things that enable the swapping of money, right? And if you don't like that, you don't like the stock market, but you might like gold. You might like, I don't know, other stuff.
You got options.
You got
There's
options
something for everyone. It's like
you don't have to like the popular thing. There's another play for you, and you can make money off of it.
That's very true. If you've got a crypto question, you got something you want to share with us, leave it in the chat, or if you're listening in the future, leave it in the comments wherever you are. Don't forget to jump in the community. I do want to tell you that if you enjoy the show, you're tuning in for the first time, we are live Monday through Thursday, 7 a.m. Central Standard Time. If you're listening to the recording, why not join us live? Ask your question here. And if you like this show, boy, are you going to love our other shows. We do 3 shows here at Rise Up Media. We've got the Rise Up Market Watch coming to you tonight and every Monday night at 7 p.m. Central with Will and Doug, aka Von. And tonight they are hosting Madi Pavlotsky founder of DeFi Tuna, an emerging DeFi protocol on its way to $1 billion in market cap. Wednesday nights at 7 p.m., we have Rise Up After Dark. Last week, we had our favorite returning guest, William Quigley, who chased off the bear market by pursuing a literal bear on his property. And this week,
Didn't work.
Maximal Margin, who is an AI artist who has a day job at Google training their AI agents. So I think it's going to be a really thrilling conversation. And I do want to tell you that we have decided, thanks to community feedback, to start featuring your stories on the show. You know, we have a lot of expert guests and friends who work in crypto, but we also have a lot of really wonderful guests in our community that have stories that are valuable to share. So I want to tell you, if you are in the Rise Up community, if you are a premium member, you will notice in the premium forum, I have created a new post that says, join the show. It looks like this, and it's even got a handy dandy link that you can use to schedule time to come on for a Web3 101 Wednesday and tell us your story. It's your show, we always say, and we want to hear from you. Whether you're just getting started in crypto, whether you're still trying to figure things out, or you feel like a pro, you've been here for years, this is your time to shine. Go there now, sign up. If you're not a premium member, you can start a trial by clicking any of the premium channels. Signing up on our community site is super easy, super frictionless. The only thing missing is you, and you can get the link at RUMS, RUMS, HQ.com. So check it out. All right, we've talked about what we're buying. We've talked about the ETH all-time high. One of the other things on my list is to talk about our friend, the White Whale, whose progress to $100 million is going pretty well on his trading journey, and who's got a Free the White Whale campaign. But first, let me defer to you guys. Alex, is your breathing under control? And Will, considering you got a whole show coming up tonight with Madi, is there anything you want to share to set us up, get our homework done, etc.?
No, I don't have anything to set it up. Just like, you know, a new and interesting DeFi platform to pop up. Honestly, the White Whale tweeting about it, put it on our radar screen, and then you know, he's a friend of the show. He's like, you want to talk to this guy? And I was like, yeah, sure, we'll talk to him. So you know, we'll see what makes their DeFi solution different, and we'll do that for about half hour or so, and then we'll swap on over to just kind of continuing to take a look at markets, take requests from the audience to do some charting, see what's going to happen in the madness of the crypto space.
We got a couple of really good questions here. We want to know from Jesus is Praise Veronica, Ohio. Love the name. What crypto is connected with AI? I'm a newbie. And then we've got thoughts on Midnight and unlocking Bitcoin DeFi. So where do we want to take it? Thoughts on AI crypto?
AI crypto. So are there cryptocurrency solutions tied to some kind of AI solution? Yeah, sure. Are most of them absolute trash dog water Ponzi schemes like the rest of crypto? Yeah, you betcha. Are there any cryptocurrencies that actually really have any kind of viable AI thing going for them? Kind of, maybe, right? The big AI play in the crypto Web3 space are AI agents, right? At first, we were like, hey, Render is an AI play because it's decentralized infrastructure for the infrastructure that needs AI. And I go, okay, cool, I get that. And then it was, oh, we're going to create these decentralized AI machine learning model marketplaces. And I go, okay, like we don't really need that, but fine. Like it's an interesting idea to have you know, publicly verifiable data that feeds into AI models to say, hey, okay, these AI models are accurate because the data is good. Fine. But none of this needs a token, and none of this needs to, you know, have a like just none of it needs a crypto, right? So like I never understood that. And then it transformed again into something somewhat useful, which was this AI agent play, which is the idea that you can have an AI agent helper do things and make decisions for you in like decentralized finance world, right? Some people talk about it'll be the everything agent and it'll do everything for you. And I go, fuck off. All right, don't shut up. Like stop. You're just hitting me with marketing buzz of something that maybe is going to be possible in 10 years. right? Or 5 years, 4 years, right? What's possible right now is having an AI agent do some things in the DeFi space for you. Tell it, hey, I want you to execute this strategy with these parameters and go do that, right? That's where the space is investing money. But again, you're going to have a lot of your Ponzi schemes. You're going to have a lot of scams and all that kind of stuff. So you got to kind of sift through the weeds. But that's where the space is. And you do have some coins. One example, you have Virtual's protocol on Base Network that enables people to build AI agents off of. And I'm sure there's a competitor at this point, but I'm not quite sure. I haven't really been paying too much attention to the space.
AIXBT is probably the most prominent competitor, but it's not exactly new.
Yeah, but God, what was that built off of though? Anyway, I can't remember. But anyway, so that's what you're looking for. You're looking for this AI agent play, this AI agent in DeFi space. But again, there's like, just with all cryptocurrencies, there's just a lot of crap out there. So I would say try to find something that creates a platform for people to build all this crap off of. Typically,
Many Crypto says Render also is another one that's trying to build a decentralized physical infrastructure platform for processing power and compute.
Well, I mentioned that at first. That was the first. That was the first step of AI, and then that use case in the world really fell off a cliff.
Yeah,
after COVID.
Yeah,
it's still a viable use case, you know.
But Render specifically seems like a solution in search of a problem, just based on like the way people are, or are not using their network at scale.
Yeah, because the problem isn't really that big of a problem anymore. When Render first came out, it was super, super exciting because it was during COVID. You had huge major supply constraints. It was really expensive to get GPUs. You could barely find enough of them. So if you could create a decentralized way that provided GPU AI infrastructure anywhere available in the world by providing your devices that you're not really using or purpose-made devices for it, then that was solving a major multi-billion-dollar problem in the world. That's a huge opportunity. And then that problem went away because the supply chain constraints were solved and fixed. And now, I think you said it the best, Render is still a viable, like it's viable, like there is a need, there's like, but like, is it super viable? No. Is it really all that viable anymore? Not really, because the people who would use it, I would say, is it viable because can you provide GPUs in a cheap way? Sure. But the people who are going to use that are never going to use it. They're just going to go to their Amazon and to their Microsoft and to their Google Cloud environments, and they're just going to spin up some more servers because they're available. They have pre-existing relationships and long-term contracts, as well as no one's going to get fired because something went wrong at Amazon Web Services. You will get fired if something goes wrong with your ability to get processing power because you signed a contract to use the cloud and AI infrastructure available at a new, untested Web3 environment. So, like, it's just not going to happen.
We also have mentions of Tau and Near in the comments, and specifically somebody said Near has surpassed Solana for daily active users, and I just did a quick Google, and the claim is that they have a monthly active address count of 48.6 million, which would make them the second largest layer 1 blockchain in terms of user activity beyond Ethereum, beyond Binance, beyond Solana.
What are those people doing?
Near has always had a lot, but the thing is when you pull up DApp radar on Near Protocol has always had a ton of users. None of it's for AI though. It's for a whole bunch of other. The thing is, I like Near a lot because they don't care really about DeFi, and what they care about is like other user-based solutions. Like, there's like a movement app that's like really popular over there. There are apps over there that are really popular that do things that are kind of niche and like off meta, if you will, in the crypto space, but people have been using them for a long time. Evan's pulling them up now, but the thing is none of those are AI use cases. And Near was first built as a blockchain network for the purpose of like, we'll be AI. And then they were like, we might do some other things. And then they really doubled down on AI again. But since then, over the past years, with them being really focused on AI, we haven't really seen an explosion of AI. Oh, Kaching. That's been the top app on Near for years.
For me, like I'm really not very enthusiastic about AI like related crypto projects, just because I don't think that's how it's actually going to matter long term. I mean, crypto companies and crypto platforms and blockchains and whatever can't even begin to hold a birthday candle next to the blowtorch that is how much money these bigger like Web 2 companies can afford to put into AI advancements and, level ups or whatever. I mean, look at all these gigantic data centers that are getting dropped all over the place that everyone's freaking out about because of water consumption, power consumption, pollution issues, like all these other things, right? None of those are Web3. None of them. It's the big companies that can afford to put in hundreds of billions of dollars and honestly lose that money and not really hurt that bad. Render, that would be my pushback against why render is never going to matter again for what it was originally intended for. They would have to do a complete pivot because none of these gigantic data centers are render data centers. None of them. So no one's doing that shit. The thing that's going to push those big companies over the top is like who can get something worthwhile to scale fastest. And so it's like a race to scale this stuff. So and none of these crypto things are even in the ballpark. They're not even in the parking lot outside the ballpark to have the conversation about who's going to scale something AI related faster than NVIDIA or Microsoft or Apple or any of these or OpenAI. I mean, like,
or
that's
Intel now, which somehow we allowed the U.S. government to buy 10% of, which really seems weird. But anyway,
yeah, that's definitely not a problem. It's also definitely not the textbook definition of communism.
Okay, yeah, it's the literal definition of communism.
Let me wrangle you.
State ownership of private companies.
Like, I'm sorry, but if you can't head in ass, if you're like missing that one.
Let me wrangle you a little bit because I want to come back to this near thing to show people on DApp Radar how you can compare on another metric. So on DApp Radar, if you're listening to the podcast, you'll just have to take my word for this or check out the recording. DappRadar.com allows you to search top blockchain dApps. I have filtered by Near and Solana because I know Solana has a lot of revenue generating protocols. Mm-hmm. And I have sorted them by volume in the last 24 hours. This is the fiat or dollar value of incoming token transfers from unique active wallets. If you had like a high number of active wallets, I would expect that your smart contracts would be facilitating the movement of a lot of dollars over time. And when I sort by volume, I would expect Near, if the usage was meaningful, to have some of the top revenue producing protocols, but they don't. Number 1 through 5 are all Solana protocols. And the number 6 protocol, Ria Finance, is from Near, but they're doing 3.5 million in the last 24 hours. And the top 5 on Solana looks like they're pushing closer to 75 million combined, with the top being, no surprise, Pump.Fun at $32.69 million in the last 24 hours.
People love to gamble.
Yeah. They and then, I mean, if you just scroll down the list, there's one other protocol from Near in the top 25. So everything else is Solana, and not all of it is gambling. But it just goes to show you that users who are active are not necessarily translated to value.
This is like such a good example of one of the many, many ways that Web3 as an industry misses it. Because if you look at like, okay, I'm going to say it again. What do the people want to do right now? Numbers would show us that they kind of want to gamble and speculate. So then you as an ecosystem can ask yourself a question. Do we want the users to be over here on our side of the fence doing the thing? So should we enable the thing that the people want to do? Do we listen to our customers and do the thing that the customers are telling us they would like to spend their money and time on? Or do we tell the customer that they're wrong, they want the wrong thing, and create something that they're not asking for and do that instead? And I hope that when I phrase it that way, it sounds as stupid as it is, because that's what pretty much every company in this industry is doing right now, is looking at the throng of people with money and time, telling the industry what it would like to spend its time doing, and then being like, but what if?
What if?
But what if instead I give you some complicated shit you're not asking me for, and then I bully you for not using it?
Food truck.
So in that sense, like, and I'm looking at it just from like the perspective of what is making money, what is the market demanding, and that's kind of one of the reasons why I don't really give a shit about crypto AI projects, because no one really cares about them, and no one's really using them like that. And I mean, to take it back to what I think would happen there, Evan, honestly, it's what you're always talking about. It's the fact that we're going to get to the point where it is so hard to tell the difference, or impossible to tell the difference between something that is generated by AI, the person you're watching online, or the influencer, or the phone call, or the ad, or the movie, or the whatever, that it was not generated by AI. And it's going to become more and more and more of a desire for people to be able to tell the difference. And you could very easily and simply do that using tokenization and on-chain tracking. And that makes way more sense. So I think AI needs blockchain way more than blockchain needs AI. Blockchain presents a solution to a problem that AI will run into in front of all of its users. But like a crypto company that is just like taking OpenAI's API and slapping a token on the top of it and then trying to pretend to me that it's some sort of solution that's groundbreaking, I would rather just invest in OpenAI, the thing they're using to pretend.
Yeah. We had a question for a little more detail, Will, on virtuals. Can you give your TLDR opinion on why you're paying attention to it?
I mean, the crypto space is still investing a shit ton of money into AI agents. That hasn't changed. We got a good finger on the pulse of that when we were at ETH Denver a number of months ago now at this point. Mm-hmm. But I expect more money to flood into the AI agent space. I also look at Virtuals Protocol as a crypto that can get, it's one of those coins that when it starts doing well, a lot of people start talking about it and a lot of people start diving into it. And it's also, I look at the AI trend across the globe as a trend that's just continuing to expand. I mean, also look like a big portion of the trade deals that the United States signed recently with countries was not agreements, but it was commitments from other countries to invest in U.S. AI sector as well, to the tunes of billions of dollars. So like foreign money's coming in, domestic money is continuing to pump into it. And so I see the AI trend really kind of being a major focus continuing forward. And even if in the crypto space, there's nothing really useful that comes out, I think that's going to kind of ride the coattails of the AI larger trend that is happening in the market. And so when you do have AI coins do well again, they can pop off in large part because that global attention on AI is increasing.
I would agree too with what Amso said in the YouTube comments. Just like if you're a trader, then it can be worth paying attention to, just because of the hype that something AI related can bring, especially right now. And I would agree with that for sure. Especially just because, kind of as we said, just trading is obviously in this world driven by speculation. And so in a world where AI things are super trendy, even if it's bullshit, it doesn't mean that it still can't, do some numbers as people want to take bets on it.
Yep.
Okay, we're at about that time where we've got to give our final thoughts. We've got to round the show out, ride our dogs and our ponies off into the sunset. I have a couple of things on deck that I'd love us to touch, which is, first of all, our Chief Gift Officer, Solom Spartan. Shout out to Solom. Had some really good suggestions for crossover content. He said, I would love to see a conversation between Evan and our friend Cosmic Crypto, between Alex and Caveman Dan, Will and Doug with J-Dan. If you've got something you want to see, send it to us and let's set it up. As we highlight members of our community, I also think it would be important to highlight builders and creators from around the ecosystem. On my list, if you're listening, brother, I promise I'm going to send you a message, is I got to get Tech CEO, the #1 salesman of the Rise Up Morning Show mug, on the show to talk through his AI crypto directory, because I love that tool. I promised someone we would touch on Midnight and Bitcoin DeFi. We can do that quickly. And then I think a really good question to round out is Cosmic's question. Zooming out, which poses a bigger threat to the crypto industry? Regulation or innovation? Like, if left unchecked, which will hurt us more first? So stew on that for a second. Can I give a quick thought on Midnight, and then we can wrap that?
Yeah.
Okay. Midnight, for folks who don't know, is a Cardano incubated, well, not Cardano, it's a IOG, Input Output Global, the creators of Cardano chain, privacy first blockchain designed as a Cardano side chain. And I think it's a really good Cardano psyop. Like, the play they're making here is have some highfalutin tech that will serve an important purpose, especially for like AI verification one of the things about blockchain is it's transparent. And you don't necessarily want people to see all the information related to your transacting online. So the question becomes, how do we enable transparency and verifiability, but also privacy so that it's an opt-in thing? Our friend of the show, Evan McMullen, who will be here again one day, is going to talk about this.
I feel like it's been like 8-9 months.
She's the ghost in the room. We got William quickly chasing the bear before we got Evan McMullen back on the show. The goal of Midnight and protocols like Billions is you want to protect sensitive data while also retaining the other benefits of blockchain. So Midnight specifically, it's a protocol that uses 2 different tokens, but they're actively building. There's a test net. They raised a ton of money and they have this massive airdrop, the Glacier drop, that's targeting 34 million wallets across 8 different chains. So what I kind of think is happening is that they haven't really built anything yet. They've talked a good game, and they're trying to get people to use Cardano, which is also 6 years ago did the same thing. Talked a good game, had a great roadmap, got their token in a lot of people's hands, had a bunch of money to spend. And what do they have to show for it? Which is not to say that Cardano is sorry, Charles, but they don't generate a lot of revenue. They don't have a lot of killer apps. They don't have a robust development community. You would have expected more from them by now. The tech is real. It's fast, it's cheap. Midnight seems to serve a real purpose. It's probably fast and cheap, but they've got to, in my opinion, attract meaningful usage more than just like data points they can report to their funders. They've got to build some killer apps. They've got to prove their value. And to the question of Bitcoin DeFi, could Bitcoin DeFi be enabled by a privacy solution? Yes. But to contrast it with a meaningful alternative, you may or may not have seen recently that SoFi Bank has launched payments on the Lightning Network. We've been talking about Lightning as a solution to make Bitcoin fast and cheap. What's the promise of Bitcoin? Direct peer-to-peer payments. Why don't people use it? Because it's slow, because there's volatility, because it's expensive. Lightning fixes this, but has mostly remained mythical until now. This is the kind of adoption you would want to see to start getting excited about a protocol being usable. SoFi does remittances to the tune of, I lost it here in this article. There's a great article on unchainedcrypto.com that breaks the news and talks about it. I can post it in the description, but that's the kind of thing I would want to see from Midnight, like a meaningful partnership with an actual mover and shaker in the world that is getting usage of their solution in the world. Bitcoin DeFi is important, but I don't think they're going to be the ones to roll it out. Will, what's got you laughing?
Where's the blue dolphin?
We actually had 3 comments this episode for the blue dolphin, and I said Halloween is coming.
Hey, the blue dolphin was in one of my videos recently. He showed up, but not many people watched it. It was the one where I was showing highlights of our silly TA charts.
Yeah. Shout out, by the way, to ACC here on TikTok, Convalescence in the community for winning the silly chart contest, $100 of Will's money, and submitting a great prize, a great chart with Godzilla on it. Gonna do another one soon?
Yeah, we'll give it some time. They need to be special events. We can't do that too often. And maybe we can take some of the show money next time.
I think that's a great idea. And I will say, if there's anybody in our audience who's into 3D printing, the goal is to get a bubble pipe shaped like a dolphin, like that we can put bubble fluid in, and Will can.
Oh, yeah.
Can't find one on Amazon.
I went on Amazon. I went on Etsy. I went on eBay. I went to like some high-end collector stuff, and there was like I couldn't find it.
I was on like Alibaba. Look, I didn't see shit. So if you are a 3D printer or a dolphin pipe enthusiast who just happens to have one in your collection, then we're gonna need one.
I will absolutely die on this hill.
Schmillion Schmatzen needs a dolphin pipe.
Okay, what do you think about Cosmic's question, guys? This is a big piece of meat to bite off and chew. Is it going to be innovation or regulation that poses a greater threat to our industry, like the hyper acceleration of everything is tokenized, everything is AI, or regulation to death that makes it hard for people like us, for our industry at large, to succeed? Probably, I would imagine Cosmic would say, according to like the values we espoused here that started the whole crypto movement, decentralization, autonomy, freedom, whatever.
Well, at this point with this administration and this SEC, it's probably not regulation. Everyone's pretty damn friendly there. I mean, if you asked us that question a year ago today, it would be regulation is the biggest problem. But right now, with the folks in power who are so pro crypto and also like pro crypto to the point where it's like deregulate all of it and let's just see what happens. And it's a very deregulated environment. It's a very, hey, let's just blow the doors open and let the industry run. And like that is the bigger threat there, but like at that point, it's just like what's something that could threaten crypto that becomes innovated in blockchain. But like even then, I'm not really the problem is the fact that there is so little regulation now, maybe that we go so far down the path of deregulation that you allow for more FTX.
Listen, we're not deregulating to let the industry breathe and thrive. We're deregulating ways so that they can enrich themselves beyond their wildest dreams. This is not an altruistic deregulation and currently the thing I want to do is kind of illegal, so I need to get that shit out of my way. It is a scam. Second, the number of times we see like monumental steps forward is really spreading out. There's not as many of them anymore, enough real users. Retention is awful. We have a metric shitload of money that was raised from a ton of different VCs that we're gating because none of these people have a revenue plan, which is why I'm such a stickler for like something making money. Weird hot take. So honestly, I think that the biggest risk fact that we have created it to become so much more controversial than it ever should be. Like this should not be a controversial thing. It really shouldn't, but it is. And it is that way because of the political, and everything now is political. And you can't have anything that just is. It has to be, we have to have very like hardcore opinions on either side of this aisle that we manufactured for no reason. So I don't know. The politics is the risk because it's going to turn off a whole lot of people to a thing. It's going to stifle growth. It's going to prevent someone who could benefit from using these tools for whatever reason from looking at it because they don't want to get involved with something that they believe their enemies are behind or whatever. And then meanwhile, you've got the government who just doesn't care about any of it and just wants to make as much money as possible for themselves.
I was looking for a fire sound, but all I could find was that was just not appropriate.
That's it.
I would echo both your thoughts. I think there are concerns about both, and I will yield by highlighting some of the great comments we got here. Everybody, thank you for submitting these. Carol says both. Oh, excuse me. Schmack says both. Carol says regulation to death. Mike and Benny say it's got to be a balance. And I think that about sums it up. They both pose a threat. Crime season is here. And we've got to go. We got to do a round of final thoughts.
We got to go do a little bit of crime.
And do a little bit of crime.
With the soundboard.
A little bit of crime with the soundboard. So, Alex, Will, as we prepare to ride off, have you got a final thought?
Market watch tonight, 8 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. Hop in. We'll take a look at the markets. Also DeFi Tuna is on as well. So we'll have an interesting chat with them, learn a little bit about what makes them different and why you may want to use them. And also, if like I started buying a little bit yesterday, but the markets are red. So you want to know what I'm going to do?
What?
I'm going to keep dollar cost averaging, right? Because I don't buy in all at once. I go, okay, I see some interesting setups here. I'm going to buy a little bit yesterday, and I'll buy a little bit today, and I'll buy a little bit tomorrow, and I'll buy a little bit the next day, and probably the next day, and probably the next day, and probably the next day, and go on, right? Until my money's out. And I'm cool with that. And I was having a conversation with somebody who had a coaching session with me, and they were like, I buy in at a high and then it goes down and I don't buy anymore. And I was like, well, let's run the math real quick of like, you know, if you had dollar cost average or in a dollar cost average, I buy one more time, but it keeps dipping and I don't have this bag. I was like, all right, well, let's run the math. You bought here and maybe it wasn't the top, but it was like the midpoint. And then it fell down, you bought again, and then it fell down, and then you got nervous. And so you stopped buying. But if you had bought during that phase, you would have been in the black a month ago, as opposed to, you know, just now being in profits. And now you're selling your whole bag because it's been such a long time since you were in profit. And then they sold their profit, and guess what the market did? Up an extra 25% or so, because they sold everything right then instead of also dollar cost averaging out. So when the market's red, dollar cost average in, don't dive in all at once. And then when the market's green, take little profits along the way.
Perfect. Alex, you got a, yep, that's it. He said, yep.
Yep.
Yeah.
Nope. Just you know, good show. Good to be back. I am doing a couple quick little things. One, I've started trying to work on putting like a roundup together after the weekend, just because shit always goes down over the weekend and we're not on the air. So I'd like to start putting it. I'll just put it in circle every Monday. It'll be like a, you know, what's happened the last how many days since we've been off. So I'll have that posted after the show today. We talked about a lot of it, although we did get very derailed because I started bitching about revenue again. So sorry about that.
Sorry, guys. Really sorry.
I also did want to recognize there was a comment from Bearded over on YouTube just about this thing that I have tossed out that I really want to do, like a prepper, because I revealed in a video recently that I'm a bit of a prepper. Not like bunker level, but that's only a funding problem. If I had the funds, I would have a bunker. And I honestly, the thing that I really want to do is like get with one of the channels that does like EDC prep, like gear review type things, and then bring the financial EDC into it. Because there is actually some really cool stuff that I think you can put in, and I'm obsessed with gear hauls. Like just having like equipment and gear and stuff and whatever. I love it. And I want to
such a gear maxi. He's such a gear maxi.
I am. I really am. Yeah, which pisses me off. I want to bring that to crypto because I want to have like a crypto gear channel that like reviews all that stuff. So like send me your crypto gear and I'll review it. But right now for some reason that's not a thing and that's so weird. So I want to show you my most recent purchase.
Okay.
And this is my final thought. I've never used one before, which is crazy. I feel like I should have. So review coming soon. But I bought a YubiKey.
Oh, a YubiKey. I was like, you bought a tiny can opener.
What is a YubiKey?
So this is the YubiKey 5. So it has NFC and you can plug it in. It's just a little think of it kind of like a hardware wallet, but for important shit on your phone or your laptop. Where you can store more than just seed phrases. So, you know, passwords, important data, information, whatever, you can encrypt it on this little bad boy. It also keeps it all on here. It doesn't expose it to the internet and all that sort of stuff. It's like cold storage for other stuff besides crypto. That's probably the best way to describe it. So I'm pretty excited. I've never used them before. The setup was pretty easy. And I'll let you guys know. I'll let you guys know what I think. But I kind of figured, honestly, just because I do store stuff on my phone and it makes me a little nervous. There's financially, if I lost that thing and someone unlocked it, like you could do some damage and that bothers me. So I kind of want to work on that. But anyway, prep show coming soon. I want to try to figure something out. That'd be fun.
Yes, that would be a good time.
Okay, my final thought is going to be to highlight this comment from AMSO, who, shout out AMSO, said, robbing banks in dolphin suits. I could not get the image generated fast enough, but jump into the community because that's where it'll be. That's where
the thing is they'd know exactly who it is. Wouldn't be hidden at all.
I'm asking GPT, give me a picture of these three guys robbing a bank in dolphin suits. And speaking of sea creatures, my final thought is to highlight friend of the show, the white whale. Hey, friend. Hope wherever you are, your candles are green and deep. I wanted to share that they are currently engaging in an activism campaign. They're about to hit $100 million in trading profits from their run this bull cycle, but they need your help because MEXC has locked $2 million of their funds. Can you imagine having $2 million and then also having $2 million locked up in some company's wallet?
Yeah, right.
And they want your help. They're doing an activism campaign over on X. You can find them at it's the White Whale HL, where anybody who clicks to claim a POAP, shout out to our friends at POAP, and then posts their hashtag tags MEXC with the free the White Whale caption is going to get $50. And anybody who changes their profile picture to this chained up whale right here is going to be entered into a drawing to win some more. And they're also going to give away $1 million of the money that MEXC unlocks to them. So $1 million of those dollars, if it gets unlocked, is going to go to all these people who are supporting the White Whale. And then $1 million of those dollars are going to go to charity. So a whale out here fighting for the shrimp, advocating for the little guy, gonna feed the chum and give you a chance to participate in some activism today. I made a tweet about it. I said, George Soros doesn't directly pay protesters to engage in advocacy, but the White Whale does. So shout out to a friend of the show, taking on the centralized powers that be, standing up to the man. Go check them out at the White Whale HL. I'm pretty sure it's their pinned tweet that has the ways to participate. It'll take you about 2 minutes, make yourself $50 and get a cool POAP for it. And shout out to Sparkle, who said, Evan, I saw you on Hysteria last night. That is so cool. I am glad that you saw the show. Let me know what you thought. It was a real stretch. What?
Could you imagine, like, you've been watching this show? You've been watching Evan on TikTok for years, potentially. You watch this show maybe a couple times a week, maybe every day a week, and then all of a sudden you're watching a show on Peacock and you see conversations with Evan in a scene. And you're just like, what?
Yeah, and it was a real stretch of a character. I played a hippie in The Summer of Love, 1969, where me and my love interest talk about, we make love, we talk about God and the devil, and then I give her some acid. So pretty much a typical Tuesday.
Yeah.
And I actually just filmed an audition. My sister and I are auditioning for Squid Games, the reality show. And I just learned that the Traitors, you know, with Alan Cumming, traitors, murder. They're doing a whole season of Everyday People again. So I'm going to film an audition video for that because I love that show and would love to hang out with Alan Cumming. Could you imagine?
Oh, that'd be sick.
When it happens, we'll tell you about it. Thank you for letting me go on for my final thought. Thank you for being the very best part of what we do. And thank you for supporting this show. We will see you tonight for Rise Up Market Watch, and then again tomorrow for more Rise Up Morning Show. Until then, everybody, stay safe, be well, my friends. Rise up.